school education. And again, you've got to show proof that you completed high school. You are going to also need to submit an application to the Ontario Truck Driving School, and that package looks like proof of the education, copy of your resume, copy of the biographic page of your passport, because you need a passport to travel. Once you have all of those, you can email them to us. We will prepare the application form, or we also, you have access to it on the website. You can download it for the team, send it over to us. We send it across to Ontario Truck Driving School, and provided that you meet the requirements, which we're going to ensure that we're assessing in the first place, you will get a letter of acceptance, and that's the process. After becoming accepted, you submit an application for your study permit or a visitor visa, because the visitor visa allows you to stay in Canada for up to 6 months, and the duration of this program is well below that time, okay? At the end of the program, if you are successful, there are truck driving companies that are there that are looking for people. Like it's in severe demand in Canada. That's pretty much the process. Do you have any questions at all for Abraham? He did share the cost of the AZ program. It's by license. AZ meaning you have big units like tractor trailer, right? And that program is $9,495. There is going to be a revision of pricing, right, Abraham?
Yeah, so there's you can ask that question again, Nick, so I can hear it one more time, please. Yes, ma'am. So I'm going to go back to the core program that we just had here. So, sir, the gentleman who asked the question, you can see the screen here?
Yes.
Just at the bottom of the screen, sir. Hopefully the gentleman can see it, but that's the pricing on.
So the tuition cost for the AZ program is $9,550. And if you're paying attention, there are 3 types of license, right, Yannick? So, in fact, you'll get more information about this. So if you're interested in the truck driving piece, it's also on the website. But if you're interested,
yes,
we're gonna talk more and then go from there. Alright? Gender issue in Canada? No, sir! Everybody is eligible to apply. Alright? Which other question? Real quickly.
Let's say I have a child who died.
You never apply the same way. Yes, ma'am. So wait, you're saying you apply and you have a child? Yes. This is school you're coming to, you know. So 5 to 8 weeks. So call Granny now and say, listen.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Alright? Give everyone a round of applause.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. I look forward to hearing from you all through and I look forward to seeing you train with us.
Alright. One more question down there, real quickly.
Okay.
You're gonna talk to Yannick. Yannick is gonna help you with that. And if you're Upper Canada, big advantage that already. So you're gonna talk to Yannick about that.
Take care, everyone. Goodbye now.
Any other questions on the truck driving piece? And we're gonna have a question and answer section as well, so then we'll be able to talk more about that. Good?
No.
Can move on now?
No, not
So truck drivers, you feel satisfied?
No.
You feel like you have enough information? Yes, go ahead.
Alright. So that tuition fee that was up there a while ago.
Yes.
When let me put me as the person. And I go to Canada on the visitor's visa.
Right.
And I'm going to that school. I would require to pay that amount, right?
Yes. Yes.
And that would be separate from the 13,000 that Yannick would have mentioned in her presentation.
Yes.
Oh, so it is 13,000 plus that fee.
Alright, so wait, let me see who did that there. Who can tell you to me? Go ahead. Load and program.
I came in late, alright?
You can't do it now?
No, I came in late.
Oh, that's fine. So that's why I want somebody who was listening to kind of share it with you as well. So you get the right information. Because we don't want anybody, and I want to make this clear as well. Because I know a lot of news, people going around, that visas are unknown. This is information session. You know, sometimes you book a lawyer, you have to book a consultation. This is a one big group consultation, right? But what it also does, for example, like a Yanni, or for you to talk to a caliber lawyer like a Yanni, right? For you to talk to a caliber immigration consultant like a Mr. Fisher, maybe externally or otherwise, you don't have to pay enough money, right? But you're here today, you've decided to start the process pretty much, and then after they'll kind of tell you what the back end is going to look like to make the move. Everybody clear? On the same page? Alright. To his question, so the 9,000 you're going to have to pay, that is a school fee to go to the truck driving school. $13,000 for permanent residents. So this $9,000 is the truck drivers, right? And the $13,000 is that one. Alright, so we're gonna take the questions after. I know we have enough money. We're gonna have a Q&A session. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll come back. 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me. Alright. You ready? You ready? Ready to me? Alright. So, we're now going to talk about working as a lawyer in Canada. Anybody here aspiring lawyers? Yes. Yes. And I have some students from Principal Jalil's Denby High, of course. Right? So we're going to hear from Osgood Hall Law School in Canada. Right? For those who want to study law.
Hashan, yes. Hi, how are you?
Good morning, Hashan. Welcome to Jamaica.
Oh, thank you for having me. I wish I could be there.
Everybody say good morning to Hashan. Alright.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just going to share my screen, and in the meantime, if any time during the presentation, if you can't hear me or can't see anything properly, do let me know, and I'll do my best to fix that. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Perfect. So hi, my name's Hashim, and just a little bit of a background on myself. I'm an internationally trained lawyer as well, having gone through the entire NCA process, waiting to start my articling position. We'll get a little bit into that a little bit more later. But I also did an LLM at Osgood, so I kind of know both from the student perspective and from the recruitment admission side what it is that Osgood's looking for and how you can best make use of the career service and just the programs that we offer. So just as an initial disclaimer, all of the information that I provide regarding the NCA process is just a brief overview and a general overview. The NCA process is very, very individualized, so if you have specific questions regarding your legal education, I would highly recommend going to the NCA website or reaching out to them directly. So today I'll be talking about just the overview of the licensing process and how to get licensed to practice law in Canada. Then we'll talk about the NCA assessment, what that really entails, what the process is like, and thirdly, how Osgood's programs can help you meet your NCA requirements and other ways that they might be able to help you in your career goals. So this is quite an important chart. I would keep this in mind throughout the course of this presentation. And what it explains is basically how you can get called to the bar in Canada. So you can see on the left-hand side, there's 3 basic starting points if you want to become a lawyer in Canada. The first, obviously, is going to a Canadian law school and getting a Canadian JD or LLB. The second is having a civil law degree from another jurisdiction or from Quebec. And thirdly is having a non-Canadian common law degree, so an LLB or equivalent, which I think the majority of you would fall into that category. And let's just follow this chart a little bit. So if you have a degree from outside of Canada that is a common law degree, you would apply to the NCA for an assessment of your degree. So what the NCA's job is essentially all internationally trained lawyers have to go through them to make sure that their degree is equivalent to a Canadian law degree. The NCA assesses everybody's file differently. It can be based on your work experience, any kind of master's degree that you have, and what the NCA will do is essentially assign you with a set of courses that you must take in order to have your degree be considered equivalent to a Canadian law degree. Now, there's 5, actually 6 now, because there's a new legal research and writing requirement, 6 courses that everybody must do regardless of where they went to school outside of Canada, how many years of experience they have. These core courses, the NCA says, must be Canadian-centric, so everybody's required to do them. Outside of the 6 required courses, the NCA can assign you additional courses so that they can see that you have competencies on common law subjects. And they also may require that you have to complete in-class study time at a Canadian law school. So it can be a combination of all of these things, or it can just be the core courses. That's best case scenario, which is usually 6 courses, and it's relatively easier to do. So once you have completed your assessment requirements, whatever it may be that the NCA has asked you to do, you would receive a certificate of qualification from the NCA. Now this certificate basically just states your degree is equivalent to a Canadian law degree. With this certificate, you can enter into the licensing process in any jurisdiction in Canada. Because it's a provincial system, each province has their own bar. And if you want to get admitted to the Bar of Ontario and practice law in Ontario and Toronto, you would have to go through the LSO, which is the Law Society of Ontario. You begin your licensing process with the LSO, and this is something that Canadian law grads have to do, and every law grad has to do. And as part of the licensing process, there are 2 requirements you must meet in order to be called to the bar. The first one is 2 licensing exams, which is the barrister exam and the solicitor exam. Those happen 3 times a year, and actually I should preface this by saying you have 3 years to complete the licensing process. So once you've obtained your certificate of qualification, as soon as you apply to the LSO, they will give you 3 years to complete the entire licensing process. That means you have to complete your barrister exam and your solicitor exam, as well as an articling placement, which is essentially an internship that you have to do at a law firm or an in-house legal team. In lieu of an articling position, they've now started what's called an LPP, which is an 8-month course that you take at Ryerson University. And it gives you basically the hands-on skills that you would need to know as a lawyer in Canada. Once you've completed the licensing exams and the articling and/or LPP, you would then get called to the bar. So I know that's a lot of information, but this is just kind of a rough overview. It's important to break it down into chunks and just remember that take it step by step, have your final goal in mind, getting a job in a practice area you're interested in, but also just take it step by step, start with just the assessment, the courses you need to do, and then worry about the rest later. So I went over this a little bit earlier. So the NCA assessments, the mandatory subjects that they require every international candidate to do, regardless of their background, is Canadian Administrative Law, Canadian Constitutional, Canadian Criminal, Professional Responsibility, a Foundations of Canadian Law course, and the new requirement to do a course on legal research and writing. Other core subjects that students are sometimes, or more often than not, assessed with having to do are contracts, torts, and property. There are other subjects like business law, tax, etc. that you can select from if they give you an option to select. Also, there's a very handy self-assessment tool on the NCA website that you can use and see approximately how many exams or courses you will have to take. So typical NCA assessments, what do they look like? Best case scenario is you get 5 subjects. So a law degree from a common law jurisdiction will usually get 5 to 8 subjects. A law degree from a hybrid jurisdiction will usually get 8. And a distance law degree from a common law jurisdiction, they will usually require that you complete 2 years of full-time in-class study in Canada. So that would mean either doing 2 LLMs or 1 LLM and 1 graduate diploma that lasts for 1 year. There are instances where refusal of assessment occurs, and that usually happens if you went to an unaccredited law school or if you have extremely poor academic performance. In that case, if you've been refused an assessment, what the NCA is saying is that we don't recognize that you did a law degree at all, and they would require you to do another law degree from an accredited school or somewhere in Canada and get better grades. So how to complete your NCA requirements. This is where Osgood comes in. Your assessment will usually indicate what required subjects you need to take and your options for completing them. The most straightforward way to do it is just writing the challenge exams yourself. It's on a self-study basis. The NCA will provide you with a syllabus and everything you need to know for that course. And then you study on your own, write the exam. The other option is to take an LLM like the Canadian Common Law LLM at Osgood, which satisfies all of your NCA requirements in most cases. You could do a hybrid of both of those scenarios where you take single course enrollments at a law school like Osgood and do the remainder on your self-study basis. There are instances where NCAs get granted special student status in the JD program, but this usually does not happen, so the best options are either LLM or the single course enrollments. So the subject requirements that you have are, as I said, there's mandatory core subjects that are not negotiable, and then additional subjects are always negotiable unless you attempt an exam. So let's say you elect to do a contracts course, and then you end up failing the NCA exam. You can't then switch from contract to another exam. You have to complete the contracts exam. So once you attempt an exam, the electives are non-negotiable. Some students will also have an in-class study requirement. Typically, if the NCA says that, this happened a lot during COVID because a lot of students went remote, and so the NCA said that you don't need the in-class study requirements to have your law degree accredited. So they required students to either do a year or 2 years, depending on the circumstances, to fulfill that requirement. In that case, the LLM or a combination of programs like the LLM or the graduate diploma would be the best fit because you get your 2 years, but then you also satisfy the NCA requirements. So on to what programs Osgood has. First, we have the Graduate Diploma in Foundations of Canadian Law. And this program is essentially designed for students who may not have a lot of work experience, have just recently graduated law school, and are looking to get an initial understanding of Canadian law. It's not a degree program, it's a diploma program, and it will satisfy about 1 to 2 of the NCA subjects. I say this is good for students who don't have a lot of work experience because the degree program usually is quite competitive, and we require that students have at least 2 years of some kind of professional legal experience before they enter into an LLM. So the graduate diploma is a great fit for those who want to get an understanding of Canadian law, who may have a requirement to have to do an in-class study option, but also want to satisfy 1 or 2 of their NCA subjects. The other full-time programs that we have are LLM in International Business Law, LLM in Tax Law, which is the one I decided to do, LLM in General Law, which basically means you can combine specializations, 2 or 3 specializations, and curate your own LLM. And then we have the LLM in Canadian Common Law, which is our most competitive program. And this program will satisfy almost all of your NCA requirements, and will give you a solid understanding of just the Canadian common law system. So in terms of our part-time options, we have general LLM, the Canadian common law that you can do as a part-time, and 13 other specializations like health law, energy, infrastructure, criminal law, etc., that you can choose from on a part-time basis. And then we also have single course enrollments, but the only caveat with those is that you can only take 12 credits maximum as a single course enrollment. So that means around 2 to 3 subjects of NCA requirements can be met through a single course enrollment, after which you would have to do either self-study or an LLM. So I think this is probably the most important slide, choosing the right program for you. First and foremost, I think you need to evaluate what your goals and your timeline is. When I moved from the UK to Canada, I knew it would take me about 2 to 2.5 years to get qualified and accredited here. And my goal wasn't just to get accredited, it was to get accredited in a practice area that I'm interested in and in a work environment that I like. Now, you need to keep that in mind because I think employers will be looking at something completely different than what you are looking at when you're trying to get accredited. The goal, in my opinion, should not be to just get accredited and call to the bar. The goal should be to do something that you really like, and the end goal should be you want to get a job. So what that means in some instances is that some students, it might be really great for them to do the Canadian Common Law LLM because they're not very good at self-studying and won't be able to complete the NCA requirements on their own. For other students who may be able to complete the NCA requirements on their own, it's a better idea to do an LLM in a specialization that's more marketable to employers and in an area that actually interests them. In that way, not only do they get a special niche degree, they also are more employable in whatever field they want to work in. So I think it's really important to think about your goals and the timeline and what it is that you want out of the degree. And then craft the narrative and story around that you can sell to employers in a meaningful way. So what's going to bring the most value to you, what makes sense in terms of your background and your practice areas, and move forward with that. And you also have to keep in mind that the Canadian Common Law LLM, it is a great option, but it's a general LLM that you can do on your own. And if you can do it on your own, I mean, you know, you're all mature graduate students, you know your studying habits better than anyone else. If you think you can do the NCA assessment on your own, I highly recommend do that on your own and do a graduate diploma or an LLM in a specialized field to get the most value out of the program. For me, what helped the most was actually the career service at Osgood. I knew that I could do the NCA exams on my own, so I went into the tax law program knowing that I wanted to practice tax law, but also the career service was amazing at CV prep, interview prep, just giving me insight into what the Canadian legal market is like, what employers in the Canadian legal market are looking for, and it's completely up to you how much or how little you use the career service, but I think the most value add that Osgood can give you is the career service and insight into the Canadian legal market, if your goal is to get a job in Canada. So these are some deadlines that are coming up. We have fall intakes on our website that are due May 1st, but winter 2024 intakes, this needs to be updated. The deadlines for those will be April 15th for international candidates if they want to be considered for the entrance award, and the final deadline would be September 15th for the winter 2024 intake. May 1st is for the full-time options for the fall 2023 intakes. So if you have any specific questions, please feel free to email us at recruitment-opd@osgood.yorku.ca. It's up there on the screen. We're happy to help. We're happy to review your CV as well to give you more tailored advice as to what programs are best suited towards you and your background. So please don't hesitate to contact us, and we'd be happy to help.
All right, thank you so much. Give me a round of applause. Thank you so much, Mr. Osgood Law School. So now we're going to jump right into it. I know you need a break, right? You tired? You tired a little bit? Alright, let's go get to it. Also not jobs. Some just wait. You know, it's important information. You have to get the information first, right? So I know you can do it through. Yeah, but just bear with us. So now we're going to talk to Olga, and she's from Centennial College. Anybody ever hear that? College in Canada? Right, she's from Centennial College. So she's going to talk to you about studying in Canada. Olga? Oh, first time in Jamaica too. So give her a So we brought Centennial College to you to tell you exactly what you need to do to get over here. Alright? So anybody want to study in Canada? Anybody? What Alright. Say that again. Yeah, man. Alright. So all the floor is yours. Thank you.
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. All good things you have to wait for. Right?
And they say, oh, I like the top one.